The secret of the player in the box is revealed. Recently, Netflix released new images for Season 3, and in one of them, we see familiar players gathered around a new box in the player's room. The strongest theory claimed that inside the box the body of player 246, who did not survive the rebellion. Before, the reason for this theory was the fact that player 120 was seen wearing a jacket that wasn't her own, but a jacket that starts with the number 2 and most likely belonged to player 246. Yet this mystery was revealed when some viewers noticed that the number, which is so precisely visible, is actually not the beginning of the player's number but the middle of it. The first number, which is 1, is simply hidden by the jacket wrinkles, and the last number looks very much like a 0 based on its shape, which creates the full number 120 and belongs exactly to the current player. These new details transform the theory that player 246 is dead, making a stronger statement that he was saved by Soldier 11 and will be rescued from the game. The question remains, who is the body in the box, and why do all the key characters react so painfully upon seeing it in the player's room? During the next 10 seconds, write your version in the comments below before we dive into a few key facts. Okay, now to the interesting part. It can't be player 388, who was a significant part of the main player's team. The reason for this is that we can see player 388's blurred silhouette in the background of the photo. Next, it's not player 333, who despite not joining the team, is set to play a crucial role in Season 3. The reason for this is that player 333 is also standing in the background of the photo. It also can't be any player who was previously killed in other games. For example, player 095, who was very close to player 120, was eliminated during the Mingle game. Her body, along with those of other eliminated players, was already taken away by the pink soldiers, and it wouldn't make sense for them to bring the bodies back in a box to the player's room. Additionally, it can't be any of the negative players who are still alive, such as players 044, 100, or 124, as their deaths wouldn't have such a strong emotional impact on the main characters. The most popular theory so far pointed to player 246. However, the next details will completely disprove this possibility. The essential role of Soldier 11 in Squid Game Season 3 has been highlighted multiple times. First, she is prominently featured on the main banner for both Season 2 and Season 3, taking off her mask and revealing her face. In the world of Squid Game, we know that anyone who exposes their face behind the mask is eliminated, as it goes against the rules. Yet, surrounded by pink soldiers, Noyul removes her mask, hinting at her rebellion against the system in Season 3. Another important banner recently appeared on Netflix, promoting the streaming of Season 2. Once again, this banner showcases Soldier 11 with her face exposed, reinforcing that her role will be significant in Season 3. Kong Noyul, or Soldier 11, was always inside the walls and at the center of all events. Yet, while fulfilling her duties, she encountered forces from the organ business traffickers inside the game, which made her change her attitude toward the deadly games and the people inside. Noyul showcased herself as a cold-minded, responsible, and disciplined woman, yet she had her weaknesses in the game. Player 246 was the one she met before the games and whose story she knew perfectly. He entered the Squid Game to collect money and save the life of his ill daughter, who by accident became friends with Noyul. At the end of Season 2, we see how player 246, taking part in the rebellion and failing, seems to be killed by one of the pink soldiers. Yet many viewers think that his fate could take a completely different turn. If this soldier was Noyul, she could fake the shot so that it would only injure the player without being fatal. In one way or another, she could signal him to pretend to be dead and have him transported in the box to the room where all the boxes are burned. Then, having access to all rooms, she could help him escape using the underground tunnels to lead him out of the walls. But even though all of this is based on predictions, the real fire started when the actress portraying Soldier 11 shared an exciting behind-the-scenes photo. In this image, she is sitting in a chair wearing her character's suit, yet what caught the viewer's attention was another figure in the background. In the photo, a person in a pink soldier suit appears, and according to many fan comments, his face closely resembles player 246. This single photo became the reason why the theory about player 246 surviving and continuing his story in Season 3 gained massive traction. The flood of comments and theories that followed eventually led the actress to remove the image from social media as quickly as possible. But even though it gives us an understanding that player 246 is not the one inside the box, there are still 3 top players who actually could be. We'll dive into that in just a minute. And while player 246 is likely alive, there are still a few more players whose deaths many viewers refuse to accept. Some expect to see the player 230 being alive in Season 3, so let's check a few facts. First, the death of this player happened quickly, yet we can understand some essential details. The fork that player 333 used to protect himself reached the most severe area, the throat. Even though the moment of actual death was not shown and credits started right away, we can predict that such damage would not allow survival. Second, immediately afterward, the speaker in the player's room announced the numbers of eliminated players, and we clearly heard player 230. The prize money for these players was then added to the total prize. Third, even if we imagine that a fork in the throat could be survivable, there was no doctor inside the game walls to save player 230. Even though the organ dealers claimed that this time they brought their own doctor inside the game walls, he would probably work on taking organs out rather than trying to save the life. Fourth, the actor who portrayed Thanos on the screen confirmed his character's death, sharing in one of the recent interviews how he liked the way it was showcased on the screen. So let's forget about the nonsense theory that player 230 might be still alive and come back in Season 3. But if we heard from the speaker that player 230 was eliminated, there is one player whose death was never officially announced, the one that viewers still refuse to accept. Player 067 from Season 1 remains one of the most debated characters, with many fans believing she could still be alive. Can it be true? First, we did not see her actual death scene. Yet when Gi-hun came back to her bed, he saw player 218 standing with a knife in his hand and player 067 lying dead. Even though we did not see the actual moment of death, the severity of the throat cut leaves no chance of survival. Second, right after player 067 was taken out by the pink soldiers, the screen showed an updated player count, which remained at 2. Additionally, the money for the eliminated player was added to the prize pool. Third, even if we imagine that a throat cut could be survivable, there was no doctor inside the game walls to save her. The only person who could have helped was the doctor involved in the organ trafficking business, but he was eliminated long before this moment. Fourth, even if we assume that player 067 could be related to someone among the new players who might have influenced her rescue, all previous facts confirm her death. Comment below if you think these facts are enough. But the craziest thing is that the deaths of many players were foreshadowed from the very beginning. Player 067 threatened a detective with a knife to his throat after he took her money but failed to find her parents. Later, she is killed in the exact same way. Her throat cut by player 218. Player 199 stole money from his boss to help the family and send them back home. Yet, during the game, the person he trusted the most betrayed him, stealing his marbles, which led to his elimination. Player 101, while free, had to escape his pursuers by jumping off a bridge into the water. Later, he meets his end in the glass bridge game, falling from a great height alongside player 212. Player 218, drowning in debt, attempted to take his own life in a bathtub but chose to return to the game instead. In the final Squid Game, after losing, he still ends his life on his own terms, this time by cutting his throat. It's clear that the beginning of the story for these players was tightly connected with their ending. In Season 2 we see beginnings of two key characters outside the game, players 222 and 333. Share in the comments what do you predict will be the ending of their stories in Season 3. Even though we've ruled out who is definitely not in the box, let's now consider who might be there. Since Season 3 Episode 1 will pick up immediately after the failed rebellion, we can expect that the body inside could belong to one of the players who participated in the uprising and was executed for their actions. Another strong possibility is player 390, who was Gi-hun's closest friend and one of the main characters. At the end of Season 2, he is killed by the frontman, but given the significance of his character, it seems unlikely that his story would end without any further focus on him. And what are your predictions? Share your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think is inside the box? Let's see whose comment turns out to be a prophecy.